It is exactly 7 o'clock, and I will be calling the meeting to order. Mr. Bill Stevens will not be able to attend tonight. So in his absence, I will be chairing this event. So the meeting is now called to order. Could we get a roll call, please? Mr. Huff.
Okay, so we have Mr. Abernathy.
Present.
Mr. Sotillo.
Present.
Mr. Rhodes. Gotcha.
Present.
Mr. Hall. Mr. Anno and myself for the TAC. And then we have 2 guests and staff representation. Thank you.
Okay. All right. Thank you. Thank you, Chris. All right. Do we have approval for the minutes for January's meeting? Anybody like to chime in?
Who can we see them?
From January?
I'm sharing my whole screen now with you guys and everything. Ugh. Look at this thing.
Yeah.
Hang on a second.
George, while we're waiting on Chris to share that, did you get Chris's email that had the minutes?
All right. Let's escape to double click. All right. Yeah, I got that. Okay. Can I print these out? Let's see. I guess not.
This is January agenda draft.
Yeah, so that's the change that Susan notified me of. I left agenda up there instead of changing this to minutes.
Okay,
So
that's not
I think
draft.
what she was saying is if we make a motion to approve with that change.
Right. But we need to remove draft also then, right?
Yeah, I do that after they've been approved. I remove draft and send them to Susan.
Okay. Well, so George has approved the last month's meeting minutes.
Yeah, I'll approve it. I make a motion to approve the minutes.
Okay, do I have a second?
I'll second it.
Okay, thank you. Lou has seconded. All in, Chris, do you approve?
Yes. As edited, yes.
Brian, do you approve?
So I wasn't able to attend last month, but I approve what I see.
Okay, that's good. That's what we're looking for. Okay, the minutes have been approved from last month. Moving on, do we have any public comments?
Would any of the members of the public like to speak?
No, I'm good.
In that case, we'll move on to announcements. Ruben?
Good evening, everyone. As usual, I have a long list. Every time I think of, I want to tell the TAC that, I just add it to the list. So I have a few minor follow-ups from the last meeting where we talked about adding public comment as a permanent thing for our agenda. So Lori says she doesn't want to add it to all the committees. That would put it in that handbook I sent you. So we just need to amend our bylaws to add that as a regularly standing agenda item. So that's great. I think we've been kind of marching through the bylaws and collecting comments. So that is something that we'll just batch all the edits when we're done going through all the bylaws. And so we can also change out however we want. If we want to have the bylaws after we do, the public comment after we do the minutes. And we can have staff announcements, which includes CTAG announcements, and then go through the regular part that the bylaws currently state. So when we get to that section, we can change it then.
Okay.
The media policy that I sent you it applies to advisory boards, and I sent that to you, right? Did you guys get a media policy from me from the town?
I don't recall seeing it.
Oh,
Did I miss it?
all right.
Is that about the meeting for with the Dot?
This is the town's media policy. So like, don't talk to reporters, unless you get the okay from the PIO. It also talks about use of social media and the town logo and town like equipment and stuff. Like I can't post on my Facebook page next to the town truck and be like, work sucks today. You know, like that's just professionalism with the use of the town logo. And so if I haven't said that, I need to send that to you all because I noticed a line in it that says it applies to advisory committees as well. So I'll send that all to you tonight or tomorrow or next week or whenever I get my emails out to you all. The status of the traffic calming policy request, after much to do and much conversation, I finally had to kick it back to poor Vince to send to the board himself. So basically what upper management said was boards or advisory committees can reach out to the board at any time for anything you want. So when you go to the Board of Commissioners homepage, at the very bottom, there's the links to everyone's email addresses, but there's one link you click and it automatically populates all of their email addresses for you. So you can click that and email. In this case, Vince did the memo on behalf of the committee, but as a resident, you can email them at any time. But if the committee says, we want to inform the board of such and such, and Brian says, yep, I'll do that, then that's one way that you all can communicate with the board if you would like. So Vince emailed the memo to the board, and I think the mayor responded with a thank you, right?
Yeah, and he had a couple comments in there. Let me see if I could find the comments. He made a couple comments in there. I was going to ask you about it because I didn't know if we needed to do something or say something. Shoot, hold on. I wish you were carbon copied.
Okay.
See if you could find it faster than me. But yeah, he did make a couple of comments back to me besides the thank you. And I thought, am I supposed to do something with this or not?
All right. So the mayor says, thank you for your letter. He's discussed with the town manager to explore options before bringing the matter to the town board. Has the TAC considered what some of the other options might be? Yes, Vince said that in the memo. One immediate concern I have is that a study may present traffic calming options that are proven effective but will be cost prohibitive for the town to implement.
Wasn't that part of the study?
So part of the scoping would be to get costs. Yeah, exactly.
Okay, that's what I was looking at it as.
I mean, if I was doing this myself, I would absolutely do costs. That would be probably the biggest hurdle for me. Speed humps are loved by some and disdained by others, but they do have one thing going for them. They are relatively inexpensive. And then he ends it with, we will get back to you after further review. So I guess this is why I wasn't remembering, because to me, these answers were like, we told you what other options there are. And yes, we would collect costs.
Yeah. Well, that's what I thought, but I said, well, maybe I'm missing something. And that's why I said, maybe I'll wait till the meeting here and make sure that we were supposed to do something or not. I'm not sure.
I mean, you can respond, do a reply all and say, yes, we considered other options. Here's the study, again, like here is the study from Aiden.
Well, I didn't want to be repetitive because it's actually in the original email.
Clearly you need to be repetitive.
Mine was just an introductory email to him to say, here's what you're getting. But if you read the email, the actual email, like you said, like we looked at, states that we have looked at several options, and it's not really also up to us to look at these options. That's what we're hiring that group to do, is to study the different options.
You did look at other options, and I think you can own that and respond back to the mayor that you did, and what you liked is this, and then just share again the link to Aiden in all your free time, Vince.
Mm-hmm.
So that's my third announcement. The fourth, Dana sent me an email, or no, forwarded from Mayor Pro Tem Garner. So the Charlotte Regional Transportation Planning Organization, CRTPO, that funds a lot of our projects. Do you remember when Dana and I came a few months back, I don't even remember when it was, we talk about the transportation planning process in the region. So you have this big list of all the projects that every municipality wants to do, and then that gets funneled down into a fiscally constrained project list called the MTP. And then that gets funneled down to what's actually funded, which is the state transportation improvement program. So right now, people have done their edits to the big list and they're submitting projects for the medium list. And they're looking for groups to make presentations to. And Mayor Pro Tem Garner was wondering if the TAC wanted a presentation on the MTP. 2 months ago, we brought to you some projects we wanted changed in the MTP, but we didn't go through a whole MTP presentation. Is that something that you would be interested in doing? Can we do a thumbs up or a thumbs down? 1 and 1, 2
Yeah.
and 1, 2 and 2, 3 and 2. Tie break, Donnie. Tie break, Donnie. Okay. So there is public involvement. So how about in lieu of that, I will email you all a link to the 2045 or 2050 MTP. And those of you that are interested can participate that way. And lastly, I'm going to share my screen. Oops, not that one.
I'm sorry, Susan, you said that was 2022 MT. Oh,
Yep.
shoot.
2050, 2050, M as in Mary, T as in transportation, P as in plan. I'm so original. I don't know the Alpha Bravo Charlie letters. I see you laughing, Michael. Hey, happy Engineers Week. Michael, stop laughing and happy Engineers Week to you. It's next week. And so I've been lax the past 2 years, but I finally got a proclamation in for the mayor. This is going before the board on Monday night to proclaim next week is Engineers Week in the town of Matthews. Round of applause. Yay!
And the purpose of this is?
To show our appreciation.
That's right, and to recognize engineering. So, whereas engineers use their scientific and technical knowledge and skills in creative and innovative way to fulfill society's needs, and whereas you can read the proclamation about all the wonderful things that engineers do. So, I'm excited because, I've been going to my kid's classroom for Engineers Week starting when he was in kindergarten. And I try and level up every year to keep them engaged and excited, but I'm not good with kids. And this year it's virtual, right? So I'm giving them a tour of Public Works. So, and I have 4 friends who are going to Zoom bomb the meeting and just pop in and be like, hi, I'm an engineer. I'm sorry, Michael, you didn't make the cut, but as a white male, your chances were really slim.
He didn't have enough initials after the end of his title. Is that what it was?
Yeah, that's it.
So I don't know, we'll see. I'm excited about it. Hopefully the kids will be excited. And I also figured out how to read books from the Libby app on my PC. So I can read them a book at the end. And it's this hilarious picture book about the kid who has designed his own school and all the funny things that he puts in the school. So happy Engineers Week. And back to you, Mr. Mano.
Well, thank you, Susan. That was very informative. Okay. Unfinished business, town vision statement, vision number 6.
Vision number 6, destination for arts and culture. Matthews is full of historic character and an impressive offering of arts and entertainment options, including festivals, art shows, concerts, and plays. It is this great variety of offerings that has given Matthews an outstanding reputation in the cultural and social landscape of the region.
Okay.
Our discussion is, hey, Vince, you want to move your camera so we can see you?
Oh, I was trying to read my second screen. Sorry.
Thank you, sir. The discussion is, how does the vision statement affect our work as the TAC, and how is transportation included in this vision statement? Any special considerations we have?
No, I think it sounds fine.
I don't
Not
know if this-
modifying the vision statement. This is a vision statement that we're talking, so we're not modifying this. This is already adopted by the town. It's how does this affect transportation? Chris, you're going to say something?
Yeah, I was just wondering. So I know Charlotte sets aside or requires for commercial building up to a certain point has to set aside a certain amount for like arts. Does Matthews do anything with that? Do you know?
Charlotte has, I know Charlotte has a art and transportation 1%. Do they have it for buildings as well?
Well, I didn't know if it was like if Bank of America builds a building, they have to set aside that 1%, right?
I'm not sure.
Yeah, I believe that's the case, and that goes towards art. So, are you saying Charlotte also has like transportation 1% goes to arts, like the art along the rail trail and things like that?
Definitely FTA, the Federal Transit Authority. Any grants you get with FTA, you have to set aside. I think it's 3% for FTA.
3%?
And that's how light rail gets all of the art, at the stations, on the bridges. And then for transportation, so there's some art. They did Caldwell Bridge over 277. There's art on the bridge that they use. Maybe it's tied to federal dollars. If you get something from federal dollars,
Okay.
3%.
Where's the agenda?
This is on the agenda, George.
Did you get the email with the agenda, George?
No, I didn't get.
The agenda is
I didn't
also
get-
on our website.
In fact, Chris, I wish you would email me the agenda and the minutes from last month.
I think I'm going to your junk mail, George.
George, he did. To everybody.
He sent it to everyone, George. So Chris is saying maybe you need to check your spam filter or your junk mail folder in your emails and make sure he's a
I don't even look at that. I just delete everything in there without even looking at it.
Okay, well,
So your other option, if you don't want to check your junk mail, your other option is to just go straight to the website in the morning, because I have it posted on the website as well, and you can download it off the website.
Okay.
So, but I recommend you look in so he sent it Wednesday
Too late.
night. So look in your junk mail for Wednesday night and look for something from C Hub, Matthews NC. Oh, it's gone?
Wednesday.
Okay. But you can always get it off
Today's
the website.
junk mail is already deleted.
George, I'm going to send you an email tonight. Check your junk mail and mark me as an
Okay,
approved sender,
will
okay?
do.
Okay.
I'll
Don't
check it in
delete
the
it.
morning.
Thanks for working that out, Chris. Appreciate it. All right, back to Vision 6 and transportation. Thoughts?
I mean, it depicts it correctly, and I guess our position in this is to try to allow for as much, I think, either walking opportunities for everybody, so they don't have to drive their cars and find parking. And I think for the most part, wherever we hold these events, which we know where they are, there is a lot of walking sidewalks and trails and opportunities for everybody to get there, including the bike. So I think that helps a lot, but I think that works out real well for everybody. I don't think there's anything else we could do to allow any more access to either the Stumptown Park or the area in front of the town hall, which is where most of all these events include. And then the other one is at the Matthews Elementary School for the art shows and stuff.
Yeah, that was my only question. Are there areas outside of downtown Matthews that we should be considering for this vision, I guess?
You know, it's funny you mentioned that, Brian. You know, I play pickleball several times a week, and I happen to drive down Trade Street to Pleasant Plains Road all the way to Stallings. And, you know, I would happen to notice the last couple of times, I didn't really, really pay that close attention. But, you know, you can pretty much walk on the sidewalk from almost the bus station in Matthews, just on the other side where that bridge overpass is there, that little bridge, from there all the way to Potter Road in Stallings, if you stay on the left side. So I'm thinking that's pretty good mobility right there for anybody who says you can't get around. I mean, that connects us with Stallings for the most part, one sidewalk. Now, there's a split on somebody's property partway down Pleasant Plains, but for the most part, it's a straight sidewalk all the way from one end of town to the other end and into another town. So I think that says a lot right there. That's something I just never really paid that close attention to until recently. As for other areas, I mean, there's pretty much just a sidewalk now from 485 all the way to downtown. There's a sidewalk from parts of John Street to downtown. And I'm trying to think in Fullwood now, 51 and Fullwood all the way to downtown. So I think we've covered a lot of the accessibility without having to drive.
Brian, you have a really good point. I'm trying to think of other like festival locations. And I know Baps Mandir up on Margaret Wallace has a big festival every year. Not right now, but they do. And there's no sidewalks out there, but they are relocating over to Industrial Commerce Drive. And they are going to be required to install sidewalks along their frontage. And Vince has great commentary about continuity. So Dana and I are meeting with CJ, I think it's this Friday. She does a sidewalk gap analysis. And so she's located all the gaps in sidewalks, not every single gap in the whole entire town. Like, we do the best that we can with aerials and existing line work. So we have them grouped into like 200-foot gaps, which is like something that our staff can handle, and up to a certain number, and then what becomes a project, and we've tied costs to all of them, and there's designated $300,000 in the CIP every year for sidewalk gaps, and that's exactly what you're talking about, Vince. That section on Pleasant Plains, there's 3 properties, and that bugs us because DOT just did a job there, and before I came here, they didn't think to say, hey, if we give you $50,000, will you build the sidewalk across these 3 parcels? Like, that's not a thing that they did until Dana and I got on board, and we're like, hey, we can partner with DOT to get extra stuff. And so that's something that is really bugging Dana and me, and we're trying to find a way to get that missing segment on Pleasant Plains, because that is a huge sidewalk connection, like that whole area.
And it's private property too.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, we'd have to get easements.
But I just happened to notice it in the last couple of times I went down there, and I said, well, that's, because we always talk about mobility and we talk about walking, and you could ride a bicycle on there, because I see people do that too, instead of riding their bike on Pleasant Plains. So that's a long one. I mean, I think that's pretty much all the way from Independence Boulevard all the way to Stallings Road.
Yeah, just to clarify that, the other side of Pleasant Plains has a sidewalk full length all the way to Stallings.
You're right, Lou. I'm talking about the wrong side. You're right. Yeah.
And I guess maybe the developer of the 3 houses in the pit should provide a sidewalk around the corner to eliminate one of the gaps. Probably too late, I guess, since the subdivision is approved, but that's what I understand.
They don't have plans. We don't have plans for their subdivision. It's a minor subdivision, so they didn't have to submit anything to me to review for sidewalks or driveways or anything.
It's a minor subdivision with 3 houses. I thought that was limited to 2. A minor subdivision, as far as the last time I read, was 2.
Regardless, they currently have sidewalk along all the frontage, so we can't make them replace it for a wider planting strip or anything like that.
Don't understand that statement.
I'm sorry. You're talking about the three parcels on the southern corner of Weddington and Pleasant Plains?
Yes.
Yeah, they have sidewalk along all their frontage on Weddington and Pleasant Plains.
There is no sidewalk from Weddington up Pleasant Plains on the right hand side outbound in where the
Oh, yeah.
low area
There's no
is.
sidewalks there. There's no sidewalks on Pleasant Plains. I guess that would be on the south side.
Yes. Can't see where you're pointing.
Okay, that's fine. I must be misreading this aerial then. So in the interest of time, then any other thoughts on Vision 6?
No, I don't. Okay, then if that's finished, then we can go on to bylaws, review of TAC bylaws, Article 3, scope of work.
Article 3, scope of work. The TAC will, number 1, report on a regular basis to the Matthews Board of Commissioners. Vince, do we do that? What does regular basis mean? I guess that's open to interpretation,
I
right?
guess I'm guessing regular basis means it could mean like after every meeting, or it could mean whenever necessary. I mean, are we supposed to be sending them our minutes and agenda every month?
Lori asks for them, but she knows that I post them to our website. So I think she just gets them off of our website.
Okay, well then we're reporting to them then.
That's the reporting. Okay.
Yeah.
Number 2, attend relevant local, regional, and state transportation meetings when possible.
And I think we've done that because I know I've seen you several times at the colleges and other places, you know, whenever they brought the 485 in and some of those other big structures. We were all there at the town hall when they did John Street a couple years ago. And we were there at CPCC for that other ones, especially for 485. So I think we do, unless somebody's thinking we're missing any.
Well, I kind of rely on Susan to identify the ones that make sense for us to attend. So I'm wondering if that should be the process, or if there's another way better to go about it. So it's less of a burden there.
Well, Susan, I guess you would hear about all these way before we would, and then you would just decide is this worth tax time? And every time we've had a big one like the 45 or John Street or whatever, and where they were locally here, you've always told us, and we've jumped on that opportunity. And we also went to that elementary school down there off of, what is that road? Valentine Commons? McKee?
McKee.
Yeah, we went to one of the elementary schools down there. So, I mean, you've been pretty good about telling us whenever we needed to go to these.
I will say it's a pretty heavy lift. And I don't think that I want to say, oh, TAC doesn't need to go to this one, but does need to go to this one. Like, I want you all to decide what you think is important. So I try and send you everything that comes to my inbox, but I'm not out there trolling for public meetings for you guys. So there is some responsibility on your part, I think, because I'm just sharing whatever I get from, you know, through my sources when I can, you know, when I have a break in my workload or whatever. So I do the best I can because I think this is really important. I do appreciate Lou goes to a ton of stuff. He participated in, like, you know, the John Street thing and the downtown mobility thing. Vince goes to a lot of stuff. I realize it's another meeting, or in some cases, oh, when was it? We had like every single week we had a meeting at one point. It was like 2 summers ago. It was terrible because there was so much stuff going on. So I know it's a hardship, but I think you can also, you know, look for those opportunities yourself. So I'm not sending along stuff that you may be interested in, like maybe Stallings is having a public meeting, and those of you that live out that way off Pleasant Plains may be interested in stuff that they do. So I'm not sending those kinds of things, just the ones that I'm actively working on.
So maybe that's what we should do, is if one of us, you know, gets wind of something or is planning on attending something that perhaps Susan hasn't seen, maybe we send it out to the rest of the group. So the burden's not completely on her to decide what to send to us and what not.
Yeah. And Lou, I know Lou keeps on top of this a lot more than I do even. I wait for something from Susan. That's what I do. And she says, hey, you may want to look into this meeting and here's why. Then I say, okay, well, if I have an opportunity, I think that'll be worth my time. There's something she sends and I'll go, I don't feel like it.
Maybe you're watching the news and you hear something. It's interesting. Donnie and I just had this conversation about notifying TAC members because he had gotten the same email that I did about, what was it, about the CATS meeting or something. And just remember to blind copy everyone when you send that out. And I think that'd be great if you all wanted to start sharing those kinds of things with each other. Just do BCC, and then you can use the little tag that I use that says this email has been blind copied to all TAC members. So they know, everyone knows that's getting sent to everyone. It's not a little note between two people.
Okay.
Number 3, make recommendations to the town board on issues referred to it by the board, such as speed hump placement, traffic calming, etc.
And we just did that. That is, I guess you could say that's in the works as we speak.
Well, so each speed hump petition that comes in, and I think any other petitions that might come in. So I revamped the speed hump petition to combine it with I get a lot of always stop requests or sidewalk requests or any other infrastructure requests now all fall under that same petition. And I anticipate those would all go back through you as well. And you would make a recommendation to the board, whether or not to approve the petition or the device of the petition's seeking.
So did you say you added that to number 3?
I have, yeah, but it says such as speed hump placement, traffic calming. So
Right.
On that, I've added sidewalks, street lights. You guys don't need to review street lights unless you really want to, but any infrastructure stuff where
Stop signs, yield signs, all that kind of stuff. Okay.
So Susan, the recommendations, the process for that moving forward, are like the memo should be, TAC should identify one member to email the board with the recommendation. Is that the process?
So number 3, when I present it to the board, I have a line in there of how the TAC voted and any comments.
Okay.
Because that does have to be a presentation to the board. So if they want speed humps, stop signs. Any other comments on 3? Okay. Number 4, at the direction of the town board, be the contact and or review body for transportation issues from residents, outside agencies or towns, Town of Matthews staff, and commissioners.
And I think we have been doing that as well, especially for new developments that have been, they're looking for rezoning, and we have, every time something like that comes up, you always bring it to us and we review it, especially sidewalks and access via roads, different roads. So I would say we're definitely doing that.
I think this also includes the Silverline, Matthews Silverline Task Force. Because that was the direction of the board. They asked for certain people to serve.
Okay.
Any other
And
comments?
we have a representative for that too.
Yeah, well, the task force is done. We lost Chris. I hope he's still taking notes. I think he's probably just going to say we discussed Article 3, so that's perfect.
Yeah.
Number 5, assist in the development of a master transportation system plan to include, but not be limited to, current and future roads and location of the same, mass transit corridors and infrastructure types, car, van, bus, pools, park and ride solutions, pedestrian greenways, bike paths. That's a lot. So we have a comprehensive transportation plan.
We have a master plan.
We do. It's on our website. And we also participate in the CRTPO, Comprehensive Transportation Plan, which has, car, rail, or car transit, walking, and biking. That's on the website. And so that's, that goes through a public process. This whole thing about the park and ride solutions, mass transit infrastructure types, that seems a little beyond the scope of this group, don't you think? What might that mean?
It sounds like it's a couple levels above us, actually.
But assist seems pretty open-ended. I mean, that doesn't mean write it. That just, right?
It just says assist, but it says develop the master transportation plan. And I think you're right, Susan. I mean, we don't assist in developing it, but we assist in reviewing it after it's been developed, and then we review it for comments or changes. I don't think we assist in developing it from scratch.
Is that
That's correct. That's correct. We need to remember in all of these things that we are an advisory committee to the mayor and the commissioners. Our function is basically to act from the commissioner's viewpoint and mayors, from their viewpoint, because they represent the public. And so, in a sense, we're representing the public here as an advisory committee. That's what we are. Initiating things, and this does lean in the direction of initiating things, is not really what we're charged with doing. We're more charged, to put it simply, in reviewing solutions rather than providing them from scratch.
I think we could probably even just say assist in the review current and future roads and locations of the same mass transit, blah, blah, blah. But I think we could just say review and maybe comment, or review and suggest, or however you want to put it, current and future roads, and get rid of the development of master transportation system plan to include but not limited to. Get rid of that, because it's like we're saying, we don't develop master plans at all. All we do is review and then make comments. Do we agree? We don't disagree. We don't agree. Why? That kind of stuff.
but as an advisory committee, you would think that would advise and provide input on those things.
Exactly.
Is the only
that first part up to the colon probably needs to be eliminated, and just say, like you said, Chris, like advise and comment, or advise and whatever current and future roads and locations of the same mass transit corridors, infrastructure, blah, 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 which is what
actually,
we do.
I thought advise kind of fell under assist in the development.
System development sounds like doing work. Like there are other advisory committees that develop stuff, like they develop guidance documents and they do work. There's other committees, advisory committees that do that. I don't think I would even develop the master plan. Like I would have Michael do that. I would hire him to do that. Like this is a big thing that it's saying.
But I guess my point is, like, yes, Michael would develop it, but we would assist in the development by providing comment and feedback, right? So the assist isn't we're actually putting pen to the paper and creating it, I don't think.
And
Well, yeah, we don't do that.
don't we already have this though? I'm going to stop sharing for just a minute and pull up the CTP and see if this is what you think that means, because I'm not even sure what this development of a transportation master plan even means, because we have so much already.
We have quite a bit actually on the dockets right now. We're just waiting on the state. Isn't that true? I mean, I can name like 5 intersections that we've talked about for the last 2 years that are now still on hold.
Those are projects though. That's not a master plan.
Well, eventually it comes down to a master plan of allowing transportation to flow better through the town. But I don't, anything master like that would probably be something like a transit system.
I think we're talking about master plan as something different. Michael, do you have some insight as to what elements might be in a transportation master plan?
Yeah, so your transportation master plan is going to be something the town develops for moving different means by moving the public around the community and those commuting through the community easier. And that's both pedestrian, bicycle, transit, cars, buses, whatever that may be. So you have this master plan that goes through phases as the community evolves and gets bigger. So and it's a plan based on years. So in 5 years, in 10 years, 20 years, and so on. So what does that look like to the town as in a master plan? As part of that master plan, you have the components which are in the CIP then of these are the projects that are prioritized to possibly come first, second, third, fourth based on the money that the town may have or that the town goes after talking with the, I can't think of the municipals, the joint municipals that you guys are part of. What is that, Susan?
CARPO?
Yes.
CARPO?
So as part of that municipal, you guys may go after and try to get some money for some of the projects that way, or through DOT trying to get some things funded. But again, a lot of it is based on what the budget that Matthews has to work with.
So would this be more like changing the whole John Street structure? Would that be something like this?
So this is what we have for the master plan, kind of what Michael was talking about. This is the CRTPO Comprehensive Transportation Plan. The town, updates our part in the town of Matthews. Mint Hill updates their part in Mint Hill. Charlotte updates their part, Stallings. So it's all seamless, but it's still, you see Matthews here. This is still Matthews. So this is highway component. This is the bicycle component. And those are the only two. Here we go. This is the pedestrian component. Each of these line symbols has a meaning in the legend. And then here's the rail, public transportation and rail component. And you see the silver line there, and you can see the park and rides and all the bus stops. And so to me, I feel like it's a thing that we have that's always available to us. Most of the stuff is included in that: current and future roads and location, transit corridors, park and ride locations, greenways and bike paths. So that's all in the CTP already. So my issue is the development of, I feel like it's developed. So it could be continuous involvement in, right, or updates to, or something like that. But I feel like it's developed, and based on how Michael described it, I feel like the CTP covers it.
Yeah, so one thing I can add is I would see because you are Matthews, you are embedded in Matthews, is something that may come about is you may find out that you've got a large development coming in and they really need a means to get to your downtown section better. So you may find a priority other than what's in the CRTPO plan going, wow, we really need to get a multi-use path, or we need to get a way to get this development that's 500 homes that really wants to get to downtown in order to get that income base from them more frequently. But maybe it's keeping their cars off the road so that it doesn't become so congested.
Yeah, that seems to be covered under the small area plans too, that we have the plan department does, and our development. Let's noodle on this some more maybe next time. So think about what this means. Do you really think that we need to develop a master transportation system plan, or does the CTP include it? I will email you that link to the CTP so you can peruse it at your leisure.
And Susan, you can address that too in regard to, is what CRTPO has, is that working for Matthews?
Right. Or do we need something more? Mhm,
Yeah.
that's a good point. All right, number 6, provide input into a future Matthews Transit Center.
We're doing that now for the light rail, are we not?
A transit center is like a hub where all like, so, where all the like buses and cars and bikes and whatever, the bus routes would all congregate there and then disperse out of there.
Oh, so you would combine it with buses as well as rails.
Could be bus and rail, yep, and bike and carpool, van pool.
Wow. Okay. I'm just thinking space.
Yeah, space. Yeah.
I mean, that's the biggest input I have is I don't know where you'd put that unless you can somehow move the rail to where the bus station is right now in Matthews, which has the most space. And they actually have, I don't know how well the properties are, but if you keep on going down that road, there's like another quarter mile of woods all the way down to the hotel. So, I mean, that's the only place that's got a lot of empty space that can be combined with the bus station that's already in place. I don't know where else you
Area
could put
around
all that.
CPCC is relatively undeveloped, and there's a bus route that goes there, and there's going to be a station there.
And if you
The
get-
station
yeah,
at Matthews Township Parkway has some potential development.
You get down to CPCC, which is great, but once you go there, you're only going there for CPCC because you can't just walk anywhere from there.
It disperse
Really?
from there. So do you want to strike number 6? Is there a proposal to strike number 6, or do we think that's something that might need to be there for the future?
Well, I
Ryan?
guess if to leave it for future, I guess it's not hurting anything to leave it, but because we're going to have to offer input when the time comes.
Vince, I think Brian was trying to say something.
I'm sorry. I didn't see you, Brian.
Can't hear you, Brian.
Keep forgetting to unmute. Is there a significant benefit to having all the different modes combining in one spot? I mean, I guess the only example of that would be the bus station downtown Charlotte. But
Yeah.
do they have? Is there a light rail stop there?
There is. Yeah, the light rail's upstairs.
No,
Downstairs.
that's not true. That's not true. The light rail is on Graham Street. It never gets to anywhere near downtown Charlotte.
The existing Blue Line has a stop at the transit center, and the stop at the transit center on the Blue Line is upstairs, and the buses are all downstairs, and then there's like drop off areas, like kind of taxi drop off areas along those.
That's the blue line. That's the blue line. I think we're talking about Matthews here, and the silver line goes to Graham Street.
I was just trying to come up with an equivalent elsewhere in the city. The Blue Line one was the one I was speaking of, though. Okay.
I think the benefit is transfers, right? So you have your big long rail, and then the buses kind of disperse out of there, so you don't have to get off. I think like if I decided to take the train to visit my sister, I'd have to take the train to South Station in Boston and then walk 6 blocks to get on the North Station rail to go to take the train to her house. And that's like the most annoying part, is I don't want to be dragging my suitcase through the snow. So I think transfers is the big thing about having. I see you laughing, Michael.
Sorry.
Is just having those available.
I've made that trek, Susan, and it's
Yeah.
not pleasant.
I know that feeling.
All right. Any other thoughts on 6? Vince, suggest keep it in for the future.
No.
I see some nodding. All right.
I don't think it's hurting anything.
George.
Hey, Chris, I just got your email, and it says to mark you as a safe user. How do I do that? I mean, I got the email you just sent me.
I don't know, George. Let's stay on after this call, and I'll take a look.
I think you can just click the link that says Mark as Safe Sender. That should be a hyperlink.
Should be a hyper or a yes or something. Just don't delete it, George, whatever you do.
Yes. Don't see anything.
Don't hit delete.
Okay.
All right, can we move on to number 7?
I'm gonna shut. I have it on my other computer. That's why. All right, we'll get rid of it. We'll close.
All right, number 7, review input on major projects that may affect transportation, such as major area rezonings.
You guys are great about that. I appreciate it.
Yeah, I was gonna say, I think we do that all the time, so I'm not too concerned about that one either. But it sounds like, Susan, that number 5 is the only one we're
I just
mulling
want to
over.
point out. Yeah, I don't like it but I hear what Michael's saying about, there might be some additional Matthews stuff, but it just makes it sound like a lot of work for me that I don't want, because we have stuff that I feel like works pretty good right now. And to make it less just about Matthews and more about the region is better for connections and connectivity. So we'll noodle on that one, I think, and talk about it next month.
All right. Okay, anything else on Article 3 before we move on? Okay. Number 7, new business, rezonings.
Excuse me, Mr. Vice Chair,
Mr.
Charlotte Area Transit Group
Yeah.
update from Donnie.
Easily overlooked. That's fine. Can you hear me okay?
Yep.
Okay. So the most recent CTAG meeting occurred this past Tuesday morning, and unfortunately, it all centered around the CAT's fiscal year 2022 preliminary operating and debt service budget and fiscal year 2022-26 prelim capital investment plan, which isn't that interesting, but so I'm trying to not bore you with too many of the details here. The opening remarks were provided by John Lewis, CEO of CATS, and most of his comments were also covered in the budget review. I've talked about this in the past. Ridership is down 50 some odd percent, 75% year over year. But the 2022 ridership is projected at plus 33% fiscal year 2022 over 21. Of course, that remains to be seen. Fare revenues, most of their fares are derived from sales tax revenue. It's a 0.5% sales tax and projected at stable in the 106 to 108 million annually. That's from the 2019 actuals through the 2022 budgeted. So far, CATS has received one CARES federal funding package in the amount of $56 million. That was in round 1. There's talk of a second round of CARES funding, rumored to be around $50 million. The initial $56 million, about half of that's been allotted. The big ticket items being cleaning, about $5 million through fiscal year 2022, and offsetting of the reduced revenues, about $25 million through 2022. Mr. Lewis talked about the current projects. We were just talking about transportation centers. They consider the Gateway Center is in the works, part of their 2030 master plan. Well, I shouldn't say master plan, but that would include the Amtrak station and a bus hub, if you will. The CityLinks Gold Line, which I mentioned the last time, it's in testing phase right now. It's supposed to go live at the end of April, late spring, we'll say. And of course, the Silver Line light rail. And I just as a reminder, at the Matthews public meeting, we're Area 5. That's next Thursday, February 25 at 5:30 p.m. Another ongoing, future projects Mr. Lewis talked about kind of a shift toward frequency management. So CATS is going to, in some segments, start to move away from printed time schedules and move toward more of a frequency-based scheduling. So, for example, you might live in an area, say Matthews might be served at least at a minimum every 20 minutes rather than specific times. But this is all dependent upon how things shake out with the current COVID shutdown. Again, I'm trying not to bore you with too many of these numbers. It went into the budgeting and capital planning, which is footnoted. So I want to ask you all, can I share the preliminary budget? Can I put it on the TAC website? Is that appropriate?
Susan, what do you think?
So unfortunately, my internet is wonky and I did not hear the request. Can you share what?
Oh, so the agenda was primarily the preliminary budget and capital plan for CATS. Is that something that can and should be shared on the tax side, or probably not at this point?
Did it say any like sort of confidential or anything like that? I think if you could just reach out to the chair and make sure, I think it'd be great to continue to post those documents on the TAC website.
Okay. So that being said, the schedule for the budget is it's going to go through a couple of preliminary rounds of review and approval this spring, with CTAG recommendation coming scheduled for April 20th. April 28th, the MPC is scheduled to approve the budget as proposed, and then June 7th, the City Council would adopt. And of course, I'll keep everyone posted of any changes in that schedule or material changes in the proposal, the projected budget. But I'll certainly, Susan, to your point, I'll reach out to the chair.
Donnie, do you know? So I heard that the Silver Line funding, the proposed tax increase that would fund the Silver Line construction, that kind of hinges on a public vote. Do you know, is the entire Silver Line project blocked by that? Did they talk about that at all?
They didn't talk about that at all, Chris.
Okay.
I can certainly reach out to them.
Did they talk about the means of raising $6 billion, our part of it, to the $12 billion total cost? The only thing we've heard so far is that it would come from a 1 cent sales tax increase, which appears to be Mecklenburg County wide. That's another question, but let's accept Mecklenburg County-wide for the moment. That doesn't seem like it's going to cover the cost. So the question here was there any discussion about where else the funding of $6 billion might come from?
No, Lou, there wasn't any mention of that in the discussion, but if it's appropriate, I can take that back to them.
Well, that would be a good question. I guess the simple question is the 1 cent sales tax increase going to cover $6 billion? Mm-hmm. I personally am going to Stallings because I happen to be close to there where when Union County tax is less, but I don't think that loss is going to count.
No, there wasn't any mention of it, Lou, but it's a takeaway from it.
And the other question before we get through, I hesitate to mention this, but I will just mention it. There was a machete attack on a bus route. Was there any discussion about safety?
You know, there wasn't. This time it was strictly budgeting. I brought this up last month. The question about safety did come up, and it was pre-machete attack, and they, their point was they were not reducing any allocation toward security. Now you can see what that did for, toward a machete wielding passenger, but. There was, as of a month ago, there was no plan to reduce and they had not reduced, even in the last year, their funding for security and the amount of security. Some might argue it's not adequate. Yeah. And the question was asked of me as well, would I feel comfortable riding buses or public transit in the current environment? And I still wouldn't, because there's safety in numbers. And to your point, this machete attack, I don't know how many folks were on that bus. I think I was out of town at the time, so I don't have much information on the attack itself.
Donnie, they don't have I don't ride the buses, nothing against them. I just don't have a reason to, but I don't ride the buses. And I used to ride the light rail when I had to go downtown for the convention hall or something. But is there, I don't remember, is there a concealed carry law against, is there a law against carrying?
My recollection is, my recollection is there is a prohibition in. I'm still not currently riding. I work from home.
But if there's a law against it, that's kind of silly because
it is.
People who have a concealed carry can't even protect themselves.
Correct. I would agree.
Huh?
They have open carry.
Well, that's same. I mean, it's not the same, but if you can't carry conceal, I don't know if they're going to let you carry open either.
You mean to get on a public transportation?
Yeah, I was saying, can we do it on a train or a bus? Is it legal? Because some of them have stickers and laws that says you can't get on the bus with any weapon.
Is that a rule?
That seemed to me, my recollection was there's at least signage. To that effect. Yeah.
That's interesting. Okay. Is that it, Donnie?
It is.
Thank you for your feedback and your report. I appreciate it. I didn't mean to gloss over you. Because it is an interesting report you're giving. I just kind of glossed over it, so I apologize.
Well, and there's a lot more detail that was presented. It's a lot of numbers. Numbers bore the heck out of me. I look at them all day long. So I'll spare you.
And I understand. I understand. All right, then we'll move on. Thank you again, Donnie. New business rezonings.
All right. So there's only one on the docket that we haven't seen yet, I don't think. I'm sure Lou will correct me if I'm wrong. This is a site that is currently wedged between, let me pull up Polaris here, between John Street and Tanktown Road. Recently reapplied for funding from NCDOT to construct Greylock Ridge Road extension. So here we are, here's 485 and the John Street interchange. You head towards town and here's our new trail that goes through this section. And then here's Charles Street in Tanktown, and this green over here is the Sportsplex. So as you can see here on this parcel map, y'all can see a parcel map, right?
Yep. Move it down there.
All right.
Needs to scroll
down.
Scroll down so we can see
up a bit.
There you go.
Okay. So this right here, this parcel is actually town-owned right-of-way, and then this sliver and this sliver are privately owned, as well as this notch that goes to this larger development. So it's this sliver here and this sliver here on either side of that Greylock Ridge Road extension that is in for rezoning. And wait for my computer to catch up. There we go. So again, here's that Greylock Ridge. Don't remember if I told you all, the DOT is, all right, my internet connection is wigging out. I'm going to turn off my video. So I'm sorry, but you get to see my frozen face because I don't want to lose you all. I'm going to set Chris as host in case I get kicked off. So the state has taken over the Greylock Ridge Extension project. And so the town is no longer going to be managing that. We think the state can get it done within the budget restrictions. Let me know if you can't hear me from my computer and I can call into the meeting.
You're good so far.
All right, so what we're looking at here, now that you know where you're at, okay, thank you. I'm going to zoom in a little bit more so you can see what we're looking at. We've got, I think it's 76 townhomes that are all 3-story, save a couple blocks that are 2-story. So they're having, so this is Charles Street. The Greylock Ridge project is going to realign Charles and eventually realign Tanktown to make for a better, safer crossing across the railroad tracks. But Charles Street would be extended through this parcel and into the larger development, as well as here's Selma Burke Lane that is connected by Neighborhood Network over to Charles Street. And we requested that they do a street stub so that this could eventually be connected through here if these parcels redevelop. These are alley load. So the front would face the fronts of the building would face the sidewalk and the street, and the vehicular access would be along the rear via alley. I apologize, my computer is not catching up to my narrative. Let's see if I switch over. They did submit a TIA waiver request. Even though the 75 dwelling units is over our 50, so when you go over 50 dwelling units, you're required to do a traffic impact analysis. Because it's multifamily housing, the peak trips are only usually they do totals for me. What's that? 46 in the PM, which is a very tiny amount. And so due to the fact that, number one, this project is not going to build Greylock Road Extension. This project is only going to go through if Greylock Ridge Road Extension is built by the NCDOT. If it's not, I don't know if they're going to back up and punt or if they're going to sell or what, but they've been clear to us, they're not building that road. We're still going to request
You just lost your whole conversation.
We've lost your audio, Susan.
Right, like, because if something happens to me, let me call in to the meeting. Hang on.
Yeah, your last whole section we lost.
While Susan is struggling to get back on with the audio, I think a traffic engineering, traffic analysis is absolutely required. This road is one of the ways of trying to divert traffic around Matthews, and with guess at 76 units, I wasn't clear to me whether there would be more than one unit per building, but that question needs to be answered too. But definitely a traffic impact analysis, and quite frankly, well, I'll wait till we discuss this it just looks like too much impact on the flow of traffic. Speed limit will probably be 25 miles an hour, which will not be attractive to people trying to bypass Matthews. Looks very impactful.
I'm sorry. Lou, are you saying the intent of that Greylock Ridge Road extension is, from a Matthews standpoint, is part of a bypass?
Yes, it should be, and I think it is. It connects to Independence Point Parkway, which of course is bypass. Well, mostly a bypass. It's suffering from the same problem, overdevelopment. For those of you who have not heard, I'm from Atlanta. I was there when Atlanta exploded because of, or partially because of, 285 Beltway around Atlanta. This is what happens to every Beltway exit eventually, and sometimes sooner than eventually. It gets massive amounts of dense build-outs. It eventually turns the Beltway exits into a disaster. If you want to be Atlanta, keep approving stuff like this near Beltway exits.
My biggest concern with it is, on top of the development across the street, Greylock, they're going to be looking for a traffic light because they cannot get out of there and make a left turn to go to 485. And if you start adding another 75 homes on top of that traffic that's already on John, which we're trying to fix, and you multiply that times whatever it is, the figure, I usually go by 1.5 to 2 for cars. Eventually, there's going to be problems with them trying to get out just to make a left turn to go to 485. They're going to be looking for lights down the road.
That's correct.
Can I please finish my narrative?
Oh,
Yeah.
Are you ready? Okay.
Yeah. So what I was saying is, so they've requested a TIA waiver because they're not building the road. I heard concerns about traffic studies. So I just had a meeting with NCDOT, the developer of this large parcel down here, and the town, because the roadway extension itself requires a traffic study because of the interchange. So NCDOT congestion management is requiring the roadway project to do a traffic impact study. So they have to prepare a forecast, which will include a development like this, which will include this large development here. They're going to be using our sub-area model, which has better land use projections and better future volume projections. Well, I asked that they use it. Hopefully they will. And they will also be analyzing a signal at this intersection and analyzing the impact of the signal at this intersection to the signals at the interchange. So that the state is undertaking that study as part of the Greylock Road Extension roadway project. This developer, not the rezoning we're discussing, but this one down here, is going to do their own traffic study because they want to move forward now that the interchange is being built and the improvements along John Street from the interchange to Greylock are going to be built by NCDOT. Developers, they know what they're doing. They wait for DOT to build the roads, and then they go back in and do their development. So those are the reasons why they want a TIA waiver, and that includes the signal. You guys have all frozen on my screen. Can you still hear me?
Mm-hmm.
Yes.
Okay, good.
Susan, I'm not sure if you were back on initially when Lou was expressing the concerns about potentially using this Greylock Ridge extension through to Independence Point Parkway as kind of a traffic bypass, right, for downtown.
Yeah, sure. Yep, that's how it was modeled. The future volume was, I don't know, I want to say it was like 12 or 13,000. So it's going to look just like Trade Street, kind of, instead of commercial, it'll be residential. So on street, we're hoping DOT will let us continue to do on-street parking. But Trade Street is 25 miles an hour. It carries, up to 12,000 vehicles per day. It is 4 lanes, but it doesn't need to be 4 lanes. You need 4 lanes for 22,000. So here we have John Street at 22,000 vehicles. That's 2 lanes. Trade Street, that's only 12. That's 4 lanes. It should be flip-flopped. If you go straight by the numbers. But we don't go straight by the numbers in Matthews. We go by context. And our model showed us that Greylock only needed to be 2 lanes and could still carry the traffic that it needs for people who are trying to get to this region and not have to go through downtown to get over to that area. Does that make sense?
Yeah, just are you saying to get to this region, meaning that the entertainment district as a destination or as a cut through over to Independence Point and then perhaps 51 or Independence?
Yeah, the model accounts for all of that. I'm not sure why people would take this to get to Independence when they could just use the expressway, unless they want to just take the scenic route. I know that then a lot of people in Matthews think that Greylock Ridge is going to be the answer to all of our traffic problems. I think more so the improvements on 74 and 45 are going to be the answer to a lot of our traffic problems because people tend to take the path of least queuing and least resistance.
I can tell you from an outsider, I would take that road to get to both Public Works and probably to get to the complex as a back way.
Definitely to get to the Sportsplex. That's definitely how we feel like this is a major road. That's how we sold it to NCDOT.
Yep.
Is that this getting off at John Street to get to the Sportsplex and Entertainment District. It's a regional facility. This is not like a local, dog grooming shop. This is like a huge thing. And I think the state finally figured that out, that's what that is. But it doesn't mean we have to build a highway to the Sportsplex. We can still just build a normal road with a beautiful side path you can ride your bike on, that you can enjoy the 4 Mile Creek Greenway out there and the trails and the turtles and the beaver that they relocated. But I'm sure he'll find his way back.
We are talking about a 2-lane Greylock Ridge Extension Road, right?
The town is. Now, when the state does their traffic study, I don't know what they're going to come up with, but hopefully it's going to be 2 lanes with on-street parking is what we requested. That's what we're showing. That's what this petitioner is showing. That's the town's vision for this corridor.
I see a number of alleys in there, I think. I'm not sure what they are. They're wider than the areas in the building, so I assume they are alley entrances. Can you tell if that's correct?
So I'm trying to find the nice color map here. Do you all see the color map with the green for trees and the brown buildings?
Well, what we really need is, number one, to slide that back down.
There you go.
Okay, so those are alleys, but they're green.
They're not alleys. They're just
Yeah, common areas, I guess.
That's for the parking garages, right? So they can get to
Right. So these are alleys. Yeah. So these are the alleys. Don't ignore these little dashed lines here. That's parcel lines. So ignore those lines. These are alleys for rear garage access and rear parking access. The only other weird thing is that these little buildings on here, 73 through 75, don't actually front a street. They front their neighbors and have rear alley access. So there's a couple alleys coming off of this alley, and the alleys are in a one-way pair, but they go the same way. So that didn't really make any sense to me. But that's what the gray is asphalt, the green is grass, and the brown is buildings. Is how you read this map. Is this map more clear?
Yeah. Is the future Greylock Ridge Road, those slashes on the main road, that's not for parallel parking, is it?
The slashes on the road are for parallel parking.
Oh, so is there going to be enough room then for parallel parking on both sides, plus plus a double lane for traffic to pass?
Vince, that's traffic calming.
One lane in each direction.
That's funny,
Michael. We have an 80-foot right of way through here, so the section is here. So 2 vehicle lanes, on-street parking each side, 8-foot planting strip, 10-foot side path on one side, 5-foot side path on the other side, for a total. And then there's extra room for landscaping or whatever for our 80-foot right of way.
So it's a 4-lane road then, two east and two north and 2 south.
No, can you not see the labels? It says on-street parking.
Yeah.
So there's only two drive lanes.
Oh, okay. On street.
One in each direction, and then on-street parking.
Well, they'll have enough parking, that's for sure, between the back lots and the sides, the slashes, the garages, the driveways, and they parallel out front.
I believe
I think they're single car. Go ahead, Lou. Go ahead, Lou.
Are there garages? Are you sure there are garages? It looks like the parking spaces in the alley are continuous with no break for entrances into garages. Maybe that's an error. Well, that's a question.
So there's 1 car garage. These little dashes are not parking spaces. They're parcel lines. I question that. I don't know why the parcel lines go into the middle of the alley. I think it's just going to be a pain. I don't think the fire trucks will be able to get down there. I think people will want to put their grills and their trash cans and their whatever out there, thinking that they own that property and they can do whatever they want, when in fact, Chief needs it for emergency access. So
I thought that was
it
a
is
driveway.
right? They look like driveways. And I think
that's what I thought they
were. If they're going to be driveways, they need to show it as driveways, but they're showing one-way alleys. And the comments from staff is, this is a 2-way alley, 20 feet wide, so that fire truck can get all the way down there because it's really long. if it's a one-way alley at 16 feet wide, Chief says that's not going to fly for him.
No, it won't.
So our comment was to get rid of these silly parcel lines. I'm sure there's a very important reason why those parcel lines go out into the alley. So it's only one car. It's only these extra spaces and the on-street spaces. If DOT ditches on-street spaces, there's not going to be enough parking. You think of a three-story townhome, probably has 3 bedrooms. You know how many cars that's going to be? Like 3 or 4, right? I have a bunch of them in my neighborhood. They're all over the place.
Mm-hmm.
They park everywhere. The ones in my neighborhood even have 2-car garages. Go ahead.
2 garages without garages. All right. That's only that one section. 15 through.
Good eye, George. Thank you. Yes, the red buildings don't have garages. They're only 2-story. So tossed in here are these random 2-story buildings that don't even have garages.
That's what those lines across from them are.
Everyone's going to be taking hoverboards, right, Donnie?
Yeah. I'm all for it. So DOT could conceivably say that needs to be 4 lanes of travel going through there.
They might. I'll tell you, Dana will fight that. They might say, forget the on-street parking, we're making it 4 lanes, and we will fight that because that's not the vision for our town. It's not the vision for our town to plow a 4-lane road through our environmental justice neighborhood. It's just not, it's not right. It's not the right thing to do.
And we're not necessarily bound to that if it's unless.
What if DOT says 4 lanes?
We will fight it. We will fight it. This is an environmental justice area. They can't just plow a 4-lane road through here. It has to be context sensitive.
Could they get, if the right of way is 80 feet, is that our right of way?
It is.
80 feet?
It is.
So in order to make it 4-lane, they would likely have to back these buildings up further on private property. Is that correct?
Maybe, maybe not.
You'd be adding 22 more feet if you had 4 lanes. Unless you get rid of the on-street parking.
Yes, correct. They've used all 80 feet.
Yeah, they did.
Well, there's an extra 8 feet over here and an extra 3 feet over here, but their setbacks are only doing 10-foot setbacks. So that's but 8.6 or 8.5 and 3.5 don't equal 22, do they?
Mm-mm. I'm just concerned about the amount of cars we're dumping right there on John Street, which is what we're trying to avoid all along.
Exactly.
I mean, we've been working for 5 years trying to get John Street traffic to be condensed and slow it down and lessen it. And now we want to add about another 150 cars on top of it of people living on John Street. So living off John Street, that just to me makes no sense at all. And then, like I said, then eventually they're going to be crying that they need a light. And then they're going to come off the 485. You're going to come down the road. You're going to slam your brakes on because you got a traffic light. And then traffic gets backed up to 485 on the on-ramp because they can't get off because there's a traffic light is red during rush hour.
That is absolutely
There's going to be a traffic.
Huh?
There's going to be a traffic study that's going to study all of that. So you can surmise all you want, but there'll be a traffic study that the DOT is going to do that's going to look at all of that. I think it's not a bad thing. I think it's not a bad thing to come off of 485 and slam on brakes, right? Because then you're not going 50 miles an hour through our town.
It's not about the speed, Susan. It's about flow of traffic. You're going to stop everybody going up the lane, then up the ramp, then you're not getting people home. You're not moving the traffic. All you're doing is backing it up down the road. It's not a matter of speed. It's a matter of flow.
That's correct.
Speed.
That's what's happening in Atlanta. You can't get off I-85 because the exits are built out so bad that the traffic backs up onto 85 and brings the right lanes of 85 to a halt.
Yep. I mean, look
so
at...
there's two people.
Go
There's
ahead.
two people who have concerns about 150 vehicles bumping onto John Street from this development. Is this a consensus that I need to share with the planner, or is there still discussion you all are having on it?
No, yeah, I would discuss it with the planner, but I mean, I would be very surprised personally if the commissioners say we think this is a good idea, because most of those guys were all part of those meetings we had with the last mayor and his committees on studying John Street. And that study isn't going away. It's coming back in another couple years. And all we're doing is adding a ton more traffic that'll let out on that same street that we're trying to cut traffic back on. That to
My
me,
question is for
that's just my opinion, but I can't believe the commissioners would think this is a great idea.
My question is for George and Donnie and Chris and Brian, is if that is also their concern and that is a consensus of the TAC, that this is a concern I need to share with the planner, or is this you guys are just talking and there's nothing that I need to share with the planner?
It's a concern of mine.
Okay, Donnie. Anyone else?
It's going to be too much traffic in that one area. I mean, whose property is this? Is this somebody who's connected politically that's having this done, that they got the state to put the road in?
The town purchased the right-of-way years ago.
Yeah,
before I even got here.
I'm not sure about the town, but you said that if the state put the road in, these houses will be going up.
So as I was
Is that
saying,
correct?
the town purchased the right-of-way years ago with the intent that the town was going to build this road. So it's been a well-known fact that the town wants to build this road. I think the developer saw an opportunity to get a free road and purchase the parcels on either side and is proposing this plan. I don't know if they're politically connected. I don't know them. It's True Homes. I think it's a national company that does developments.
That's what it seems like to me. I mean, if the town was going to go do it, and now the town's going to give it up because they say, well, it's not, we don't have to pay for it, but then we're going to have to pay for it in the traffic conditions that will involve.
Yep.
I think, and correct me if I'm wrong, I think that the subdivision is independent of who builds the road. If the town builds it, the subdivider is still entitled to come forward with this plan. Is that correct, Susan?
Yes.
So I'm not sure what your point was, George, if that was not your point. If your point was that maybe the town should build a road, that I don't believe would change the situation. Again, Susan, is that correct?
Yeah, I think George's point was everyone else has to build their own road. How does this person get someone else to build their road? Is that right, George?
Yes. Yeah, I mean, the town doesn't have to pay for it. Let the state put it in.
They are, hopefully. BA funding, fortunately, is a separate legislative type of funding. So hopefully that is still a go and is not on freeze like everything else. We've been told it's still a go. We'll see. Fingers crossed. Any other comments on this rezoning so we can get on with our agenda?
Well,
Are you able to?
I think we need to send a motion. Maybe this is premature. We either need to send the motion or we need to discuss this at some future meeting where we make a motion that says, in effect, this project is so dense that it will badly affect the traffic situation.
Would it be reasonable to hold that proposal until after the traffic study is done? Wouldn't we have more information to?
Yeah, it's going to be months before we see that traffic study. And this is going to hearing in March. So if it goes to hearing in March, it'll go to decision in April. Yeah, the last traffic study meeting I went to, it didn't look like that was going to be possible. I mean, that's a great idea, Brian, and I wish they were on the same timeline. And I personally don't know why they're rushing this rezoning. Jay knows all about why developers do what they do, and I feel like I'm just getting dragged along here. So,
Then what's the purpose of the study if they've already going to approve it?
not necessarily. So they asked for the study that's being done is for the intersection of Graylock and John Street for a traffic signal and for traffic analysis to make sure that this extension, or to mitigate any effects this extension has on the interchange. That's the purpose of the study that the state is doing.
Okay, so let's say it comes back and the town commissioners don't like what they see, then can they reverse whatever they decided?
On this rezoning?
Yes, ma'am.
No.
Well, then,
It's
Now
now,
they might be able to keep deferring it. Maybe a recommendation would be, hey board, maybe you should keep deferring this until we see the results of the state's study.
then can we submit that as our comments to the board?
Sure.
Defer
Board
any
has its
decision
hand up.
on this until the study is done, and then let us see the study and then come back with another decision. I mean, that's what we're here for.
yes.
Susan, what you're saying is that rezoning will go through regardless, right? Or Vince, are you saying recommend postponing the rezoning?
Yes, I'm saying don't make any decisions and postpone the rezoning until the study is completely done. Then it comes back to us, we look at it, and then once we look at it, and if we don't like what we see, then we come back with our suggestion, and then at that point, the town commissioners can decide to do the rezoning or not.
I have a question. Now that John Street, the proposal in the future is to widen John Street to 2 lanes in each direction. How does that affect this project if they're going to put another lane in each direction on John Street from 485 west?
Well,
So the current, I'm sorry, Vince, were you going to answer that?
well, based on all the studies, then the 1,000 meetings that I went to with them, I don't think anything was really decided, unless Susan could correct me. But, they talked about 4 lanes, then they talked about 2 lanes with a median in the middle. And I mean, personally, George, I did not come out of any of the meetings after all that to say, this is what it's going to look like. I think they're still going to have a lot more discussion and dialogue before it's decided whether it's going to be 2 lanes or 4 lanes.
Don't they think that we should postpone this to decide what they're going to do with John Street?
Well, that's another 2-3 years, I think, isn't it, Susan?
No. So the current plans for the 485 interchange is to widen John Street to 4 lanes up to Graylock Ridge Road. The inside lane will drop as a left turn lane onto Graylock Ridge Road, and then it'll be 1 lane into town after Graylock Ridge Road. Similarly, coming out of town towards 485, it'll be 1 lane, and then after Graylock Ridge Road, will pick up its 2nd lane. And so that section between Graylock and the interchange is going to be 4 lanes. So they're in development of those plans right now. I reviewed and made comments on the 25% plans for that. And then I brought to you in not December, we didn't have a meeting. It must have been November. I brought to you a CTP amendment that amended the RCTP and then the CRTPO CTP, the Comprehensive Transportation Plan, to modify the recommendation for John Street from 4-lane median divided facility to 2-lane with a 2-lane, what did she call it? I think it said 2-lane with median. And so that is done. The board had voted to approve that. And so that's gone into the CTP. So the CTP has been amended that John Street from Graylock Ridge Road to Trade Street is 2 lanes with a median.
This is like a shell game. Where's the little P going?
No,
It was the recommendation of the John Street working group. And so that's what we did. and there was TAC involvement in that.
Where does the DOT stand on that? There was some discussion that a traffic study would be done after 485 interchanges and toll lanes and that sort of thing were done, and then a decision would be made. So that was an understanding. I think, I don't know if that's documented or not. And so the question here, which may not be answerable, is where is DOT on this? 4 lanes versus
Not
2?
answerable. Yeah, it's not answerable. You're absolutely right, Lou. So we put that in the CTP so that it can be modeled modeled in that way. So that future traffic forecast and other work that the Metrolina regional model does, which is what the DOT uses, does show that as 2 lanes, so that then they can see that, and the sub-area model has already proven this, that when we do 2 lanes on John Street in that section, it doesn't gridlock 485 or downtown or anything. And so we are continuing to move forward in refining that and taking the next steps that need to be taken so that DOT will allow us to use that John Street money to build the section that best fits our town, that best incorporates the adjacent residential land uses and helps deter speeding and pass-through traffic.
Thank you. I'm surprised nobody else commenting on that, but okay.
That's not even going to bother. Okay. So where did we decide, Susan, on?
I am reporting, so I'm reporting back to the planner, who I think is Rob Will. It is Rob Will, that the TAC has concerns about 150 vehicles bumping onto East John Street, and that we would like the TAC would like to recommend that the board defers decision on this rezoning until the NCDOT traffic study is complete and we have reviewed the results.
And TAC has had the opportunity, yes, to review the study.
The TAC. Yeah.
Okay.
Do we need that as an official motion, Susan, or is that something you could bring just as a comment?
I don't need an official motion, but if you all want to write, like Vince did before where he wrote that memo to the board, if you all want to do that, I don't think that took a motion. I think last time you all approved the memo. We don't have the luxury of time in this case.
Sure.
But I personally don't need a motion. I'm happy to just take this forward to Rob. It seemed like, based on the discussion, it seems like consensus. I don't hear anyone completely opposing what's being said.
I think it needs to go to the mayor and commission as a motion, so it has some backup for them. Remember, we're representing the mayor and commission as a review committee. I would say that the motion should be to postpone any action, and I believe this defer is the correct word, to defer any action until the state has completed and published a traffic analysis. Chris, I'm not sure I can even repeat that exactly. Did you capture that?
I think, Lou, it'll be similar to what Susan's already said, what she was going to take to the developer.
I believe there's a motion on the table and it needs a second before further discussion.
Yep.
So, Lou, just to clarify, your motion is to defer any rezoning action on item 2021-727 until NCDOT has completed and provided a traffic analysis. Is that sufficient? Did that capture it?
Completed and
published?
Well, okay, we'll leave
wait, I think Lou had an important point. It was review, like I think Lou wants in their TAC to review it, right, Lou?
Yes.
Yes.
Yeah, Chris,
Let me
read it
yeah.
again so we can vote on it.
Yeah.
Need a
Okay.
second?
Mr. Abernathy made a motion to defer any rezoning action on item 2021-727 until NCDOT has completed and provided a traffic analysis for review by the TAC.
I'll second that motion.
Okay. Chris, you want to go around the horn?
Yes. Lou made the motion. George seconded. Brian.
Yes.
Vince.
Yes.
And myself is a yes. So that's unanimous. Okay. I'll send that wording over to you, Susan.
So again, I guess based on the last thing, I feel like it needs to be sent by you, Chris, because the way that I'll say the same thing to staff, right? So hopefully it gets included in the staff report. But I feel like if you guys made a motion, then I think Chris as secretary or Vince as chair sends the motion to the board using that link on their page. Does that make sense?
Correct.
Because that's the direct line of communication is from you all to the board that way. And Lou seems to like that, so we'll just.
Okay. Vince, do you want me to send that to the board?
I don't care. If you want me to, then send me what you have wrote. Otherwise, if you want to do it, that's fine too. It doesn't matter to me.
Okay. All right.
You just tell me what you want.
Okay. I'll get something out tomorrow.
Okay.
Okay, while we're in it,
Are we, Susan, are we done with the rezonings? That was the only
Yeah,
one we were
Lou,
going to
did you-
talk about, correct?
That's the only one that we have to discuss, yes.
Okay. All right. Go ahead.
while we're in the vicinity of 485 and that sort of thing, there has been a change in the highways, in the toll lane project, the entire project. Both Highway 74 toll lanes and the whole Highway 74 project, which would include Independence Point Parkway and I believe it's called Northeast Boulevard, Northeast Parkway, would be included in this change. And also, if I understood correctly, my secondhand information, and I'm going to ask Susan to clarify all this, that there is also a change in 485 toll lanes all the way to 277, having to do with timing. The number I've heard is 2035 for completion of this complex project and I'll stop there because I think Susan can give more light to this. I only have secondhand information.
Vince, do you want to talk about this now or do you want to go through the agenda? Because I'm trying to pull up the documents that Lou's referring to and I'm happy to share with you all. There's also a board presentation you can watch online on this topic. What's your preference, Vince? Do you want to talk about it now?
No, we could go back to it and let's just continue on while you do what you need to do, Susan. Is that all right?
Well, Susan, what we're mainly looking for here is what affects Matthews. We don't care what affects 77, or what affects Charlotte to, let's say Sardis Road North, that part of it. But, the key here is how does this affect Matthews?
It's all connected, right? It's all connected.
Okay. However you want to structure it.
Well, the next one, I think Susan's going to have to talk about. So we're going to wait either on Susan to further investigate this other one, or do you want to move on, Susan? Because I think
So
the
the
next
next
one you
bullet
have to talk about.
Yeah, it's upcoming Board of Commissioners presentations. If you all recall, last year we applied for design and right-of-way funds from the Community Development Block Grant Program, CDBG. And at the advice of CDBG, that CDBG funds is what we built the Crestdale Heritage Trail with. And at their advice, they said, we'll break up the project into planning, design, and right-of-way, and then construction. So we're currently working with the planning, design, and right-of-way funds now. And we're going to request that the board let us apply for construction funds. So this program is great because there's no minimum required match. So we're offering a 5% match. We're used to offering a 20% match. So it's a very small capital outlay for the town to pursue this grant to construct. This is a sidewalk on, let's see if she's got a map here. She does not. It's a very small section of North Ames Street that is a gap that got created by recent development. So here's North End, here's Trade Street. This is Ames Street that crosses the tracks. And this parcel is under development and we'll build a sidewalk along its frontage. This parcel has already built its sidewalk, so all these residences here can walk on the sidewalk, but then they got to walk in the street, and then they can get back on the sidewalk. So we applied for funds to just connect this across these two parcels, which we haven't heard any inkling of any development on these two parcels. Same owner, Matthews Building Supply owner owns these two parcels, and we've talked with him, so he knows what's going on. So it's just to connect the sidewalk from this property over to the corner and improve the ramps.
You don't need a half a lane there too, in addition to the sidewalk. It's pretty tight.
So interestingly, the grant does not pay for asphalt, but because Dana is magic, we figured out, what I told her was, well, in order to set the sidewalk at the right elevation, I've got to set the curb so I know where the sidewalk should go. And she said, that's fine. The town is going to patch back the asphalt. So we are going to do a little bit of widening in this section, but we can't pursue grant funds for it, but that's going to be part of the town's contribution. So yes, Chris, there is going to be some widening right there, which will also be a huge improvement to Ames Street. While I was out there, the owner of Matthews Building Supply and the residents were like, gosh, there's so many trucks down this road. And I was like, is that something you want me to work on? Should we ban trucks from this segment? And I was surprised the owner of Matthews Building Supply was like, yes, please do, because I'm tired of our trucks getting stuck out here. I was like, okay. So subsequent to that, I'll work on a no trucks policy here too. George?
I thought there was a rule that any further developments, the builder has to provide sidewalks.
That's right.
But there's no builder on this, George.
No?
There is on that corner, right? The corner itself.
That's Matthews Health Center, isn't it?
Where it
Which
says
corner are you talking about, Liz?
where it's where North Ames Street at label is, that corner. Yeah.
Yeah.
That does not have a sidewalk. Does it have a sidewalk on Ames Street now?
Yeah, it has a sidewalk now.
All the way down to the private property there.
All the way down to the hair salon, which is this
Yeah.
little building, this little yellow building right here.
Okay. That must be real recent. That's fine.
Very recent. Very, very recent. Yep. And then the one on this corner back here isn't under construction yet, but they have approved plans. So, I mean, that was something that Commissioner Miller brought up when we went to them to try and get money for this gap. He's like, well, when these properties redevelop, the developer has to put in sidewalk. And we said, yes, we would like to put in the sidewalk now. Because I knew MPC at the time, which is this corner parcel that I was talking about, was under construction. And people were just walking in the street. I mean, there's so many walkers in this street. It's shocking. So that's the only thing I wanted to bring up to you all transportation wise. That's on the board agenda this month. The Normally we don't take items to the second Monday because that's the planning meeting and it goes to like forever. But I think we have an information session. Yes. So on Monday, March 8th, the Silver Line is coming back to talk to the board at 5:30. So you can watch via Zoom or via the YouTube channel. You all know where to find the Board of Commissioners agenda on the website under Government and Agendas, and that has the Zoom link. Or you can watch on YouTube.
Okay.
So that's all I had for upcoming Board of Commissioners meeting.
And that's, I'm sorry, that's the CATS is doing a Silver Line presentation.
Yes, at the 5:30 meeting. That's really important. It's an information session. It's not a voting session. So it's 5:30.
Whoa.
At the town hall?
It's via Zoom. So it'll be virtual. So you can watch on YouTube or you can get the Zoom link on the website.
Okay. Any other comments, questions about the upcoming Board of Commissioners presentation? Okay. With that, review of Weddington Road dedicated right turn lane to Pleasant Plains. We added that back in late at the last minute. Anybody have anything that they want to add to it? Or Susan, did you happen to go back and look at it to see if it can be done?
I did not.
Okay.
I thought this was just you all were going to discuss it. I didn't realize I had an action item.
Well, I'm not saying you did. I'm just saying I didn't know if maybe you did look into it, because I think the question or the concern was we want to see it, possibly see it added. What would need to be done if we added it? If we wanted to add it.
I did some research. Hang on a second. I don't know why I just had this brain fart. I added it to my NCDOT list as a question. And I heard back yesterday from the DOT. So while you all discuss, I'm going to look for his response. I apologize. I forgot this was on the agenda and I didn't get that pulled up.
Okay. Well, I wasn't sure. I thought we mentioned some, but I wasn't sure if you had an assignment or we just needed to discuss it more. But I guess I know George's is real adamant about it, and so is Lou. And, and looking at it, I could see where that traffic could end up backing up because all the right turn has to wait for the light to turn. So I don't have an issue if we can put one in there or put one back in there, I guess I should say.
And we could defer this till the next meeting if we're sure we can do it in the next meeting, while giving Susan more time if we need to.
That's fair.
So I emailed the division traffic engineer to get his opinion on it. And so I said, I asked him, here was my thought, was what's the delay on that right turn lane movement? Like, you can say that about any intersection in town is, the right turning vehicles have to wait. That's in any intersection in the town. It's in any street in the town where the right turning vehicles have to wait. So I wanted to know specifically about the right turn vehicles, what's their delay? And what he said was, we don't have funding to install this right turn lane. So the delay would actually be in funding and finding a funding source if there is any available. So that was his response.
Which means we would probably never see it because I'm guessing that funding wouldn't be accessible very easily, especially, is it the same builder that did the bridge?
Yeah, they're tied together. So I assume it's under the same traffic study that modeled that intersection, modeled that right turn movement. Now, this was before I started here, so I didn't read any traffic study on that. If we need to dig it back out, I might be able to reach out to the consultants that did the design and see if they can deliver those traffic study numbers to us.
That's so old it would be irrelevant. That traffic study would be way back there. Let's ask this though, before we go. You had said something about Weddington Road improvements. Would this perhaps fit into the Weddington Road improvement scheme?
You're going to have to refresh my memory, Lou. I'm sorry. I don't know what I said about Weddington Road improvements. Where on Weddington Road?
Okay, let's move on then.
Was it Weddington or Pleasant Plain improvement?
My understanding was it was Weddington. But
Okay.
Let's.
All right.
Let's,
Well,
let's move on.
where are we going to go with this right now? I know it's the last agenda, and I know it's late, and we're working on the 2-hour mark in 4 minutes. Are we going to postpone this till the next meeting, or
table it.
you want to table it to the next meeting?
Give
Susan, is there anything we or you or somebody needs to do to bring it back, or are we going to just have the same discussion and not go anywhere?
Yeah, I didn't hear anything specific that you all wanted from me, because I don't know what you need. I asked the traffic engineer, and he said we don't have money for it. So what other information are you looking for?
How do we get it? Basically just come down to the facts. How can we get that in there if we want it? Is there a possibility of any way of having it? Do we have to, the money has to come from outside the town of Matthews, and who would be that? Or would that be a state, or what?
So any intersection improvement project, like we could try and get funding to do an intersection improvement, but you have to prove that there's an issue. You have to prove that that there's excessive delay, and you have to prove that the right turn lane would alleviate the excessive delay. So you'd have to do a traffic study that would do all the turning movement counts and grow the numbers to whatever design you're looking for. And then you'd have to do a cost benefit analysis, how much it would cost to take, that new home that's going to be built there, and build that right turn lane. I personally am not in favor of right turn lanes. I think that they diminish the pedestrian and bicycle environment. It's already real dicey out there for cyclists because of now there's the left and right out of that movement, and cyclists get kind of stuck. And so I don't think staff would support a right turn lane there. And we had Mr. Macera at the last meeting who said the right turn lane was always meant to go away. It was always meant to go away. So to turn around and now say, oh, actually, we want it back, when Ralph went through all that stuff before and probably said it was fine to turn it. And no, they haven't.
Yeah, they will, because as soon as you build that interchange on Weddington Road, and all those cars come off Weddington, off the interchange, off of 485 on the Weddington, they're going to be coming down to that light, making a right to go to about, 7 or 8 major developments right down there on Pleasant Plains. So we probably need to wait till the study to do it, I agree, but that study's going to come after that interchange opens up, and then the traffic builds up once we're back to normal in this country, and that traffic will start to build up Weddington Road to make a right to go to those 6 or 7 or 8 major developments on the right-hand side. So
that's an excellent point that Vince brings up. Not all the traffic coming off the interchange will turn right onto Pleasant Plains Road, but there is a portion that will. And so in 2025, when that road is complete and traffic has normalized, then maybe that's a good time for you all to bring this back up.
2025.
I know.
I mean, I'm not trying to be sarcastic. I'm being very, very serious. When I expect the interchange to be built is in 2 years, and then you wait another 2 to 3 years after that for traffic patterns to normalize. And then that's when you do your study.
I mean, I think that's when you're going to see the real picture of whether there's really a situation there or not. Maybe we think it will be, maybe it won't. But until the interchange is built and until people have to go home from work at 5 o'clock when everybody starts going back to the norm, then we'll see the real traffic pattern and see, hey, the traffic's going all the way up the road because they can't make a right. Because there's, as you well know, there's at least probably 7 or 8 major housing developments down that right off of Pleasant Plains. So I guess it's going to have to wait until, since nobody has money anyway, it's going to have to wait until we get back to the norm.
Especially that new 3 houses they're putting in the hole there. When they come out, I guess they only have to make a right onto Pleasant Plains. How are they going to make a left to go up to Main Street?
Well, they're not. They're going to make a right and then make a left turn onto, what is that road there in that development, the first one? I forgot the name.
Marquee.
There's no.
They're going to walk to Main Street. They're going to get on their hoverboards.
That's right, because everybody's going to have a bicycle and they're going to take the new sidewalk across the bridge all the way up there. Okay, so at this point in time, it's going to have to get tabled until the interchange is built and we get back to the norm of what the traffic pattern's really going to bring there. Does anybody have any other comments?
Well, I would still like to know what the effect on Matthews is from this large change in the toll lane projects on both 74 and 485. However, given the time that it is, I would suggest maybe that Susan update the projects list, which doesn't cover this change in the 74.
When it gets adopted, it'll cover it. It's not adopted yet. It has not been approved. It's just out there for discussion right now. So that's why it's not on the page. But thank you for trying to call me out on that, Lou.
Well, then I'd like to hear what's going on. I mean, this is a big...
I don't blame you. Yeah. Yeah. I mean, and by the way, you all are welcome to listen in on any board meetings. And so this was covered in a board meeting, 5:30 information session. And so what my computer is trying to load right now is the map. I'll bring up first the map that shows, and I'll speak as quick as I can on this, and then you all can watch the board meeting.
Well,
so here's 74 in Matthews, and here's the 485 toll lane. So here's 74 toll lane project. And as part of that project, these little pieces right here that you see are called the parallel routes. The DOT committed to completing Independence Point Parkway from Charlotte, but then through Matthews all the way to CPCC, and pieces of Northeast Parkway, which is back here behind the shopping center, to Matthews Min Hill Road, and also to create overpasses at Matthews Min Hill Road and Sam Newell Road, which includes, some quadrant loops, and then replacing the interchange at 51. So they had divided the project into these 2 parallel routes. Independence Point Parkway and Northeast Parkway was the first phase that would go first. And then after that was complete, then they would do the express lanes on 74. Well, because of what's called the corridor cap, and also there's only so much they can spend in a quarter each year. And then because, of course, of the funding issues, this very colorful picture. So this top part is Charlotte. If you look down here, this is Sardis Road North interchange right here. You see the little labels. I'm going to zoom in closer now on this bottom part. This is 74 here through Matthews. This is 485 on the right. And Sardis Road North is this purple interchange right here. So this part all in here is in Matthews. And you can see the main line improvement here, which is the express lanes and the additional general purpose lanes and the auxiliary lanes. And then you can see here the connection of Arequipa to Northeast Parkway. This is existing Northeast Parkway here. And this is that piece. This is Matthews Min Hill Road here. And these are just quadrant roadways to get on and off 74 from Matthews Min Hill Road. And then this is Independence Point Parkway here coming out of Charlotte at Crown Point and coming back behind Home Depot and Harris Teeter. Here's the existing section by Target. And then this is that new section by the Apartments Entertainment District Sportsplex. Here's Public Works. Hi. And then over 485 to end here at CPCC. So they hired a consultant to kind of chunk out this now like $1 billion project into more manageable chunks that meet that 400 million here. We'll just do this. We'll just look at the schedule. They broke it out into manageable chunks that fit into the fiscal years with the fiscal constraints. I'm going to zoom back out again. This is Charlotte and Matthews is all combined in this. We didn't separate out the Matthews because this corridor is multi-jurisdictional. But you see here the very first project that we're proposing to go first, and the DOT agreed, is at Matthews-Min Hill Road grade separation. This was Matthews' top priority because of the high volume of pedestrians, younger pedestrians that walk to school and attempt to cross 74 on a daily basis during the school year. And then that little section of Northeast Parkway that connects 51 to Matthews-Min Hill Road. That piece is very important to get bus service off of 74 and onto Northeast Parkway so that people can stop standing on 74 to catch the bus, and instead they can stand on Northeast Parkway, which is a lot more pedestrian friendly and right by their homes. And we could expand bus service down to the apartments to serve the new apartments on Northeast Parkway. Next are some, go ahead.
That first one's the flyover over 74.
That's right. It would grade separate Matthews-Min Hill Road. Yep.
To complete in 2028. The green
right.
is right away. The orange is the construction.
That's right. So they would start design work right away on it to be ready for right-of-way in 2023. Next, in that same kind of starting the same time would be some projects in Charlotte. And then 2 years after that, they would start the Sam Newell interchange, which is the same thing, create a bridge over 74 for Sam Newell. It's another place we actually have a lot of pedestrians there. And that would include, hang on a second, I'm going to scroll up. So hang on a second. G8, it also includes the extension of Sam Newell. And it also includes the extension of Rice Road. And it creates a roundabout at Independence Point Parkway and Sam Newell down here over by, this is by the quarry. Creffield Drive South area would start that year also over in Charlotte. Then they moved back into Charlotte for 2 more segments for the express lanes and widening. And then they come back. Oh, I missed one. I'm so sorry. When I talked about Sam Newell, that same year, Independence Point Parkway Area 2 is the section behind Harris Teeter and Home Depot to connect 51 with, what is this, Windsor Square. Independence Point Parkway Area 3 is over 485. That's on a lag. And then you see the rest of the sections that complete those parallel routes and the 51 interchange, all scheduled to be completed by the end of 2037. So that schedule, everything is frozen right now. This project is not moving forward because they don't have funding, but they're willing to work on the segmenting plan with us so that when they do have funding, they can get started right away on the higher priority project. And in bright red, proposed schedule is subject to change based on cost and funding availability. So whereas we had all the parallel routes were all funded under one project, and then the grade separations and the toll lanes were funded under the next project, we now have multiple projects in multiple years. Hasn't been voted on yet. It's going to the CRTPO in March, and hopefully for board adoption in April. But again, this is all just preliminary stuff. Any questions?
No, it's good info.
Susan, you're saying that, I mean, the decision is because of funding constraints, right? It's not like you're just delaying, right? Or for project management. It's they don't have the money in the fiscal year.
Well, yeah, the project costs balloon, right? I mean, they redo the cost every year. Once they redid the cost, and especially if they added in that section, converting the bus lanes to managed lanes, they're all considering it part of one corridor. And so then now that's why the project cost is so much. And so they're only allowed to spend $400 million in a corridor in each fiscal year or pair of fiscal years or something like that. I'm sorry, I don't have the exact information.
Susan, could you, that timing table, could you extract that and send it to us? Just that. The orange and green.
It's combined in one document. Do you mind if I just send you the whole document and you just don't look at the first page?
Okay, whatever's easier. A screen grab, it works, but
Okay, thank you, Susan. Anybody else have any comments or questions before we close out? Well, thank you, everybody, for being very patient tonight. Do I get a motion to adjourn the meeting?
I'd make a motion to join the meeting.
I thought we decided we don't need motions to adjourn, right? We just leave?
Just leave.
second.
Second to leave or second to adjourn?
Both, all of the above.
All right. Well, thank you, everybody. And again, thank you for your patience for the long meeting. And we'll see you next month.